Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and we are going to open up the Pandora's box of an opinion video and we're going to look at the Championship stadiums. We're going to be ranking them from worst to best. Please don't get too upset by it. Just a little bit of fun. And really the question is, where do you like to watch your football? Entirely subjective, but I would love to hear your ideas. Maybe you don't have to do all 24 like I've done, but maybe give me your top 3 places. Maybe give you your bottom 3. And maybe as well, don't include your team. So where do you like to go? Because it's a given that we all love going to our own stadium, don't we? Many of us went there very young, got taken by our parents, and it's got this majesty. But what about the other ones I'm really interested in? Again, it is literally, where do you like to watch football? But me being me, I have done a ranking system, some star ratings and some criteria. So here it is. We're going to be looking at the facilities, as in when you show up on a match day, how easy is it for you to get there, to get parked or to get off the train, to get into the stadium, to grab some food, have a bet. Oh, there's screens. Is there heating? Oh my goodness me, how's your view? And all of that modcon snobby stuff. We'll be talking about character, which has absolutely nothing to do with facilities, is when you walk into that ground, how does it make you feel? Do you feel cold and bored, or do you feel like great things have happened in this place before? And, you know, does it float your boat in that way? We're going to talk about atmosphere, which isn't just down to the fans. It is down to the aura of the stadium and the way things are laid out. Does the sound stay in there as well? Are the players close to you, or are they miles and miles away? All affects the atmosphere. And then we'll talk a bit about the history of the stadium. And again, when you sit there, what has gone on in this place? What do you remember when you walk into that stadium? What's the evocative memory from history? I'm going to grade all of them 1 to 5 stars. You don't have to do that, but please do get involved in the comments and maybe top 3s, bottom 3s. Look, full respect and a prize if you do put all 24 on there. Shall we get into it? So we're looking at scores of, 0 to 20 stars, because I'm giving 5 stars for each. And our lowest ranking stadiums, there's a few of them, got just the 8 stars. Shall we reveal what the first one is, where nobody wants to be? And I'm very, very sorry, because it is Hull. There is the KCOM Stadium, Hull. And look, Hull's at a bit of a disadvantage because it's so rubbish to get to, isn't it? Unless you're already up that way. So I remember doing it, driving from Aylesbury up to Hull, and it just seemed to go on forever and ever and ever in a day. And then when you get there, it's that dusty car park, isn't it? And there just does feel a bit of a disconnect between the supporters of Hull and this stadium. I know they've had promotions there in Premier League football there as well. But just with the ownership and the alarms and all that's gone on there, and possibly wanting out for the longest time, it does feel a bit of a distance between this stadium and the Hull fans. The facilities are good. It's a modern build. In terms of character, not great, because I think of the overarching atmosphere between the fans there and the owners. That makes it struggle. And of course, in the picture we showed, that lovely top tier tends not to be open. I did go there when Leeds were in, and it was ram-packed, and it was pretty decent, but it did feel like an away team just turning up and doing what they please there. Atmosphere, okay. The history is reasonable for a new build, especially given there's been promotions there. But in the main, when I speak to Hull fans, they haven't been too happy, and I think that parlays into the whole thing. So nice new build, but a bit dusty and grubby in the car park outside, and then yeah, the heart and the soul, given the history of the owners, feels a little bit missing there. Let me know what you think, and we'll move on to our next one. And a very similar story here. Looks like a lovely little ground there. The Rico, which is no longer called the Rico over at Coventry. What is it called? It's called the Coventry Building Society Arena. And again, this is all coloured by their history with Sisu and the fact that this stadium nearly sent Coventry under, didn't it? That we had the build and then the rental back. And I just have memories of lots of people protesting there and it not being very full, and hearing about leasing costs and rental costs. Didn't make me feel too great about it. Obviously, as a new build, the facilities are good, and anyone who's driven that way, what is it, off the M6, you can... Not the M6, is it? Is it? I can't remember. Whichever road goes that way, out towards Birmingham. You can see the stadium, can't you? So facilities are decent. But in terms of character, atmosphere and history, that just hasn't had a chance to build yet for Coventry and their fans in terms of calling this a real home. Maybe that will start to change now, because on the pitch things have been pretty decent and they're moving back there, obviously having not even been playing there for a couple of seasons, playing off at St Andrews. So again, similar with Hull, the disconnect makes me as a football fan think, is this where I really want to be watching football? Is this home for these guys, these poor suffering Coventry and Hull fans indeed for the last one? No, not really. So there we go. Another 8-star scorer there is Coventry. Where are we going next? It's Peterborough, and it's a new one. Look, I have to be completely honest. I haven't been to Peterborough for absolutely years. I went there for a pre-season friendly. This season Ipswich got promoted. God, I'm old. That's like 20 years ago, isn't it? So things have probably changed slightly. So I'm sure posh fans will have a pop at me there. But one of the smaller stadiums. Obviously, the water mains burst last year and completely knackered out the pitch, didn't it? I used to love the open terrace ends, but obviously things change there. Lots of nice bricks in there as well. But we do welcome Peterborough back. Main stand looks like you get a pretty nice view sitting upstairs in there if you like that sort of thing. But in the main, it doesn't have those new build facilities, does it? Got a bit of character. I must admit, again, atmosphere-wise, I haven't been in a while, but I'm sure they'll be up for it. And perhaps historically, well, you tell me if you're a Peterborough fan watching, big moments that have happened in that stadium. There we go. Let's hope it raises up the list, and I hope to get to Peterborough very, very soon this season. Like I say, I'm not far, but hey, we're working up the list. Don't take it personally. And we'll move on to the next one. And we're on to our first 9-star stadium here. And it is Ewood Park. And maybe I'm being a bit unfair here, but every time I go to Ewood Park, I'm blooming freezing. I don't know why. Is it as cold as Stoke? Cold, wet, windy night at Stoke. It's a bit of an odd one, Ewood, because obviously they built it up when Jack Walker was there in the 90s, and they went on to win the Premier League with Alan Shearer and Tim Flowers and Tim Sherwood and all of those great players, Chris Sutton, that they had. They never quite built up that old school stand on the left-hand side. And unfortunately, it does strike you now as a bit of an arena that was maybe at the time fit for a Premier League champion, but it's just never full anymore. And a few times I've been, they've wedged the away fans right up in the rafters, and there feels like they're about 400 metres away from the loud home fans, and the atmosphere then struggles a little bit. So look, facilities in some of the main stands are fine, but we are going back to the 90s now, aren't we? Character, yes. I remember the Man City fans on the hill when they got promoted there, and obviously it's a old school northwest town, so it does have straight out onto the northwest streets, aren't you, outside the ground. Atmosphere I haven't found good. Obviously historically you've got that Premier League Premier League winning campaign and Alan Shearer and all of that stuff there. But yeah, it does feel like Premier League football would help just pep everything up there, wouldn't it? Let me know your thoughts on Ewood. 9 stars there. And we'll move on to Deepdale. We haven't gone too far there. I haven't been to Deepdale that many times, to be honest. It feels quite kind of small and compact. You can see all the cantilever bits over the top. Again, maybe I'm struggling because last time I went there I was absolutely frozen and it was a 0-0 draw between Preston and Derby, I think, and there was a thin strip of away fans there, and it wasn't the most comfortable experience watching football. But hey, Preston fans are not responsible for the weather. I've given it a high score historically. I think with all the references to Tom Finney and Preston's illustrious English football history, you do kind of drink a bit of that in, and the statue and all of that good stuff. Atmosphere was okay. Facilities were perfectly fine. In terms of the character, it was a bit square and a little bit small. So, hey, look, I don't want to be slanderous about this. So that's why I've got Deepdale there. Let me know your thoughts. As we go on to... Look, there's some posts in the way. My pet hate there. The Vitality, or Dean Court as people want to call it, over at Bournemouth, which must be the smallest one we've got. It was certainly the smallest one in the Premier League, and not too many seats for away fans and view, etc., etc. Never quite able to build it up, and with my snobby wanting to sit as high up as I can, that's tricky down at Bournemouth, isn't it? Facilities, obviously some Premier League money after all that run gets spent on it. Character is fairly decent. You don't get many stadiums like that now. So look, if you do want a small, compact stadium, there is some character there. The atmosphere, is it able to build up? And historically, I suppose the best time for Bournemouth was in those Premier League days there. But yes, I'm sure if you ask the Bournemouth ownership, maybe not the Bournemouth fans, if you could stick a twice the size stadium in the same spot with all mod cons, as much as it feels a little bit soul destroying, I'm sure they would take it, wouldn't they? Just to build up those gate receipts and commercial revenues. Shall we move on to the next? And it is Blackpool and Bloomfield Road, which has been fairly well developed over the last 20 or 30 years. Again, a bit of a distance between the fans and the ownership in recent times there, hasn't there, with the Oystons, and they've got that all worked out. Plenty of posts along the right-hand side. Big gap between the corner stands there. Certainly looked rocking from the playoff semi-final I watched there. They were pretty much there after winning the first leg against Oxford, weren't they? Facilities have been upgraded. Character, maybe I'm being a little bit unfair there, because when I spoke to, certainly when we were doing the playoff final, it looked like Blackpool were going up. Everyone was talking about, great away weekend. Not an away day, an away weekend up in Blackpool. So certainly that bodes well, what else the away day brings. Atmosphere, well, they were all over it when they beat Ipswich in the last minute back last season before last, in fact, before we got everything cancelled. History obviously is big again, Stanley Matthews and all of that business up there, but it does feel a distant memory given pretty much the reset the club has had after the Oyston issue. So that's where we got Bloomfield Road, and again, like Peterborough, welcome back. Blackpool into the fold. Next up, everybody's favourite. I always end up standing up for Reading, actually, because I've been there so often. It is not the Madejski Stadium. It is the Select Car Leasing Stadium. Now, look, I've been to Reading absolutely loads because I was working in West London. So if they ever did a Tuesday night game, I would just shoot down after work, about 40 minutes or what have you, down the M4 and get in there. Look, let's make no bones about it. The facilities are good. One of the better in the league, in fact. Again, bit of a gruff car park like the Hull one, where just put some tarmac down, guys, for goodness sake, and very slow getting in and out of there if it's busy. I've kind of mastered that over the years, I think. But as well, they always kick off at 8 p.m. Reading, don't they, for a evening game? It must be an M4 thing or a trains thing. I don't know. And you always seem to still be in the car park at about 11 p.m, especially if you've recorded a review like I have. Character, not great. Atmospheric, it is derided in there, isn't it, as a bit quiet. The history is not too bad. Again, they've had promotions, and of course they had that glorious 106-point season there over at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. So I think it's one of those where not too full of character, but look, it's a good view wherever you sit, and you can get in and out. And I once had a curry inside the stadium. It was like festival food in there, which is quite nice, but all very Waitrose and Berkshire, like they get derided for, poor guys over at Reading. So there we go. There is the Select Car Leasing Stadium. And we're going to move on to our 10-star stadiums now. And here they come. And there is the John Smiths in Huddersfield, which still gets a lot of credit for the innovative build. Remember in the 90s, God, when did this stadium go up? Must have been about 95 or something, 95, 96. The McAlpine Stadium, as it was called there. And it was a thing of beauty. Obviously, it's been up a fair while, that design. I have to say, last time I went there, I booked the stadium parking, and it was horrible to get to, and all the way around this one-way thing, and then another middle of nowhere parking. So access-wise, not great. And it is a bit of a... they kind of funnel you around the ground and the ups and downs there. Don't go to the wrong entrance like I did as well. Let's have a look at my numbers for it. Facilities are good. Character, I've given it 4 stars because of the shapes of the stand. History, okay. Obviously, they've got the promotion in there as well that Huddersfield fans will particularly remember fondly. Atmosphere-wise, I will say it does feel sometimes like the stands are not actually that close together in terms of building up the atmosphere. And I have to say, with all empathy for Huddersfield fans, last time I went there was like the first game of the 1920 season. They lost at home to Derby. And there was a bit of a sense of, oh God, we've been losing for about 18 months now. And it was a little bit moderate in there. Understandable, but there you go. In goes the John Smiths. Let me know your thoughts on that one. And we move on to the very nice looking Cardiff City Stadium, but again it gets the same criticisms that a lot of them do. You literally pull up, and I don't know what shops are there, Marks and Spencer's, John Lewis, you literally pull up into a retail park. So okay, there's that nice bit of grass, isn't there, and then the housing the other side. But for those people who like their old school stadiums, like Hillsborough in the middle of a load of houses, or one of the Merseyside stadiums, this isn't it. Look, the facilities are really good, really very good indeed in terms of getting around and in and out. Annoyingly, again, like Hull, that top tier is often closed off. It's got really good capacity, this stadium, but unfortunately the character suffers a little bit from the whole identikit, the stadium being in the retail park and all of that stuff. Atmosphere always pretty decent in there at Cardiff. The Welsh boys, can't remember where I sat, but over to my right, pretty loud. The away fans, and this is not the fault of Cardiff, obviously, because of where they are. If they play a team from the north of England, not many people travel because it's so far, and they sit down in the corner, and you want things to get going in that regard. And last couple of times they, although to be fair, I think I saw possibly Fulham there on a Friday night, and it wasn't that bouncing, I have to say. History again, a newish build, I guess. Remember the old Ninian Park was late 90s, early noughties. I guess this one went up. They've had some good days there. So we're about halfway up there with Cardiff. And moving on, a very similar story. Here is Middlesbrough and the Riverside. And this goes in with the McAlpine, and we'll talk about Pride Park in a bit, and the Cardiff one. Well, a little bit earlier than the Cardiff one, because this was the BT Cellnet, wasn't it? Doesn't feel like it's changed a lot since then. Big capacity up in Middlesbrough, but it does feel like it's plopped in there by the river. It has a little bit of the identikit vibe about it, but those northern fans do get things going up there. And facilities, atmosphere, history, all pretty decent. It's just the character, again, with the Riverside, and I'm sure Borough fans will agree. Ayresome Park literally was exuding character right, left and centre, wasn't it? But hey, things have to move on. And this was one of the forerunners to the new build stadiums, wasn't it? So, yes, we will go Riverside with 10 stars there. Let me know your thoughts. Let's go on to our 11-star stadiums now. I don't know how far through we are now, but we're getting to the business end of this now. And our first 11 stars is Oakwell, which is a little bit of a mix of some redeveloped parts and some old parts. And look in that background. Look at Barnsley all sat up on the hill, and you've got the exec boxes in the corner. You've got that old stand that's about 100 years old, it looks like. And let's be honest, especially fans from Yorkshire teams, they love that huge away end, don't they? So there's a lot of character about this. And what I do like about it is you can see where it's been kind of developed as they've gone, and you can see where the old bits were. Facilities are okay, aren't they? Character, there's a lot of it, and you can see with the different shaped stands and the old stand there, and obviously the town just seems to have character as well. Atmosphere is pretty decent, I have to say. It would be nice if it was just filled in that corner, so that sound from the away stand would just hang in there. But good old Yorkshire bunch up there, and the history I like. In my lifetime, obviously they've been up in the Premier League and a real good go at it last season, and it really would have been rocking last season. Sadly for those Barnsley fans, couldn't get in there. So I actually like watching football up at Oakwell. I do often end up doing a long drive and then eating at that KFC just down the road, which is not good for my waistline, but hey-ho, there we go. Moving on from Oakwell, let me know your thoughts in the comments on Barnsley. Is Birmingham, which is a good one to travel to. And I have to say, in terms of atmosphere, I was at Birmingham versus Aston Villa, the one where the fan came on and assaulted Grealish. And obviously we don't condone that, but God, was there an atmosphere in there that night or that afternoon. It was fantastically loud in there. And when they do that, we're off to Partisan, whatever that chant, keep right on. It's really, really good. To be honest, I've been there when it's been really sunny and they play Mr. Blue Sky before the game, and that was great. Again, a big away stand. Sometimes they move them a bit over to one side, and you got that really loud end, the opposite end. So it doesn't feel like you can get that much back and forth between the two. I have sat in the main stand, which is very, very dated, the old main stand. And I do want to say it's quite hard with all those hospitality seats and I think season tickets to, get one of those nice view seats up there. Facilities decent, character is decent as well. I wonder how the Birmingham fans would feel if that old main stand went and they managed to make the thing go all the way around. It'd probably be a very large capacity then. Wouldn't it? Atmosphere is good there, and I do kind of like the history of it. It goes back a long way now, St Andrews, and it does feel like, obviously, until they remove that main stand, it does feel like you can look back at pictures and still see the same thing from time to time. So we'll go for St Andrews there. Good old school football ground, that one. And we've got to go on to our 12-star general, our 12-star stadiums. And the first one of those is Stoke City and the Bet365 Stadium. And give over all your jokes about a wet, windy night at Stoke. It is a good stadium, this. What I will say is it is windy and cold, and you've got those huge open corners there. Look, I know they have to do that so the pitch gets sunlight and wind and rain and all of that good stuff. I've sat in the press box, actually, last season, and that is pretty high up there, pretty bird's eye view. It's a really well put together stadium right on the corner of that that A road. I can't remember some motorways. I can't remember what the A road is. Someone tell me in the comments. So look, I've given facilities very decent for Stoke. In terms of the character and history, I haven't gone too high. There is again the feel of the identikit about it, but hey, look, it takes decades for these stadiums to settle in people's minds, doesn't it? In terms of the history, obviously, it's fairly new, although I think most people think of the Bet365. They genuinely think of Stoke being up in the Premier League, upsetting people, and Rory Delap launching long throws and Stoke finishing in the middle of the table. So there is somewhat of a history about it. Atmosphere I've always found decent in there, and of course they do the Delilah business, don't they? And the away fans don't feel too out on a limb there. So I quite like going there, I have to say. So we're giving Stoke 12 stars, the Bet365. And we move on. There it is. I always get stick for my love of the Kenny. There is Kenilworth Road. Look at it. 5 million posts. You're sat below pitch level in the away stand. You walk through a front garden or something. Bit dark and dingy around the ground, but this is a proper old school football stadium. People always say to me, Ben, why do you always rate Luton so high? Their words, they say, why have you got that dump so high? But I love going and watching football at the Kenny. Obviously, with my snotty, snobby wanting to sit nice and high and not look past any posts, that's not possible. But good atmosphere in there, good old school ground. Look, sorry, Kenny. I've given it 1 for facilities because, yeah, it's not the best. And make sure you duck in the main stand under all of those wooden beams and whatnot. Character is off the charts, though. I think that's our first 5 stars. I mean, look at it. Exudes character. Again, the people who don't like it will argue the exact opposite, but what are you going to do? Obviously, a load of conservatories along the other side as well. Luton will be moving at some point from this stadium. Atmosphere is always decent, and the away fans always can get involved with those home fans on that corner of their home stand, nice and loud down there. And the history feels good, doesn't it? And everyone remembers the plastic pitch and David Pleat and the Steens and Ricky Hill and all of those guys over there. So, look, it's a place I like to go and watch football, and I won't apologise for it, despite the fact it's probably the most outdated stadium in the entire division. I like it. It's my generation. What are you going to do, hey? Get your thoughts in the comments on the Kenny. As we go up to our 13-star stadiums here. And there is the first, and it is Swansea, which does feel, of a lot of the new builds, it feels like it really suits Swansea. And you go down there and there's the river and the bridges, and yeah, it does seem to be sunny there quite a lot, doesn't it? Every time I've been down there, it does. Feels like it's the right size. You can get around it. There's all good parking. It's quite hard to get a good seat, actually, because of all the season ticket holders in there. But it's one that's not too big for the club. You know, I always praise Rotherham for this. They've got the right size stadium for what they do. And yeah, I like it for a new build. This is one of my favourites. The Liberty Stadium. Facilities are good. Character, it suits them down to the ground. Atmosphere's always been decent with the Welsh boys down there when I've been in there. And history, their history always feels very positive, doesn't it? The Swans moved in there and one of their best periods in their history. So it's a place I like to go and watch football. Obviously, again, like with Cardiff, it's a bit of a drive for a lot of us to get down there. But yeah, always good fun going down to Swansea. I always end up chatting with the Swans fans as well, so I've always had a good time down there. Let me know your thoughts on the Liberty. As we move on to another one that I'll get accused of, why are you putting that one up so high? This is the Kian Prince Foundation Stadium in Shepherd's Bush, QPR, in West London, and it's just a place that I like watching football. And again, there's a bit of an implicit bias because I worked in West London, and evening games just around the corner for me down there. And there aren't many better stadiums for an evening game. And when we talk about stadiums that lack for being too far away, you're hemmed in, really on top of the players. And I know that can really motivate QPR and demotivate away teams in there. Look, facilities, again, yeah, it's rubbish, isn't it? I've given it 1 star. Some very bad views, some very big posts in there. The away end is not the best view. If you sit in certain points, you can't even see downwards if everybody's standing up for the goal. So you gotta find your seat. Pretty sharpish in that away end, but the character is absolutely fantastic of that stadium. And look, if you want to take your missus to the football as well, there's Westfield just around the corner, so you can take a shop in, go and get some dinner, and then just wander across to the stadium on foot. Atmosphere, I've always found it decent in there, especially on night games, and the history feels good. It just hasn't changed very much, has it? You think of Jerry Francis and that team that finished second in the 70s, or the Les Ferdinand and Roy Wegerle era. It's just exactly the same stadium. You're walking into a bit of QPR history every time you go in there. Although those bars when you go in and you're walking up, it does feel a little bit 80s. But hey, it's good fun, and I love to go and watch football down at QPR. Let's go on next to probably the one that's improved the most over recent years is Ashton Gate down at Bristol City, where you have to say they have transformed that stadium. I remember going there when the kind of rickety away end, all the stands were like that, and it feels very, very kind of fresh, and there's huge space behind all the concourses, and that massive main stand. Now you get such a good view sitting up at the top in that stand. So they've done a really good job, Lansdowne, because they do the rugby there as well, don't they? And it just feels like a real hub for Bristol and for Bristol sport, and I'm sure pop concerts in there as well. So they've really gone for it in terms of developing it. Just got to get the team moving and get it full and rocking. So facilities very good. I've given it the 5 stars. Their character is building, atmosphere is building, and history is building. But there is such potential there in Bristol. I know people have been saying it for decades about a big Bristol club, but yeah, they've really gone for it with that stadium, and I very much like watching football down there. I wonder if they'll do the away end. Are those anyone want to compulsory purchase those row of houses along behind there? That might be an issue with the away end, mightn't it? But hey, what are you going to do? Let's move on to our next one. 14 stars. It's the big boys. Now, my absolute favourite places to go and watch Championship football. And there is Pride Park. And Middlesbrough fans might be a bit miffed by this, but I just prefer this as my best 90s build stadium. Remember the lights going out? Was it the first game? They played Wimbledon and the floodlights went out. But I really like watching football at Pride Park. I often sit up in that main stand. And they seem to have done really well. I say new build. I know it was built in probably 96 or 95 or 97 or something, around that sort of time. But it feels like it's really bedded in nicely with the Derby fans. Good good sense of history being respected, plus the modern side. Always find the atmosphere fairly decent, good for night games as well. I would prefer the away fans were back on one of the ends. I sat many years ago, I watched Ipswich there from one of the ends behind the goal. I just always think that's better for the atmosphere than them being over in the corner. But I understand why clubs do that and they want to quieten down the away fans, so to speak. But again, I've gone for a big one on the facilities. Nice and direct, isn't it? Yeah. And they've even split the stands in half, haven't they? So you don't get those big, horrible can't move out the back. Like, I'm thinking of the Doug Ellis stand at Villa where you literally can't move at half time because everyone's walking from one end to the other to try and get a pint or go to the toilet. And yeah, just all decent character, atmosphere and history. And they do that, how does that, watching up in the sky. It's good. I do like going to Derby, I have to say. I think it might be struggling this season given the off-the-pitch stuff, but I've always enjoyed Pride Park as a place to go and watch football. Let's move on to the next. And one of my absolute favourites, the Den in Millwall, where, look, they had this fearsome reputation many, many years ago. And look, they moved site, and this is another 90s build. But I think if you want a unique football experience in the Championship, you've got to go to Millwall, haven't you? Where, look, a lot of it is the fans and the kind of iconography of the club, which is just so old school football, and that lovely idea of intimidation and hostility, obviously when it doesn't cross the line, just really makes for a great watch. And is it the Dockers over in the corner in the away stand always going at each other? They've managed to do it so the away fans walk straight from the train in South Bermondsey in there. I really like going there, and contrary to what a lot of people think, I go and sit in the Barry Kitchener stand, which is the main stand, and people are always stopping me and saying hello, and it's just a lovely place. You can see Danny Baker over in the corner there as well. Just a great place to watch for me. Facilities are okay. Character is there, but it's all about the atmosphere, isn't it? At Millwall, it's just a really, really visceral. And when they do the big Mill, you just don't get that anywhere else. So I've had some great afternoons and evenings watching football down at Millwall. And I have to say, and I've been to Villa Park and Leeds with 30 and 40,000. The loudest Championship stadium I've ever heard is Millwall when they played Fulham back in 17-18. I've just not had anything match that. Villa Birmingham was very loud, but there was double the amount of people in there as well. But yeah, terrific. Love going down to Millwall. Let me know your thoughts there. And here is the complete opposite. We're going to go from East London to West London, and from working class Bermondsey to perhaps upper middle class Putney over there in the beautiful River Thames. We're going to Fulham, which everyone loves the away day at Fulham, especially if you get it in August and you can go and plenty of places to go and get a drink, and you can go and sit on the grass before the game, and it's just very lovely down there at Fulham. And you will see that they're finally going to have one stand with some nice views and no posts in the way and no wooden seats and whatnot. So yeah, Fulham is a welcome back, and people, along with Blackpool actually, people talk to me most about this one being the away day that they like. Facilities, I would give 2 stars, but once that new Riverside stand is built, that bumps it up a little bit, and I don't have to sit on a wooden seat anymore over in the Johnny Haynes. Character is brilliant. I'll give it 5 stars just for its uniqueness in this football world. In the middle of those, walk through all those streets. Let's bring them back up. Look at that proper West London there. Brilliant stuff. Atmosphere can be a little bit quiet, and this is no offence to Fulham. A lot of tourists in there, especially on Saturday afternoon games. They want to go and do a game of football. they can't get in at the other places, but they can get in at Fulham. In they go, and their history. I mean, look, the Haynes stand is listed, isn't it? So it really does exude history there. Great place to go and watch football down at Fulham. And on we go to West Brom, which I think is another good example of an old school modernised stadium. They've managed to do both there over at the Hawthorns. You can see in that picture as well, the big chunk of away fans behind the goal, close to the pitch as well, with that noisy bunch of West Brom fans the other side. It's always been loud in there. You get plenty of noise from the main stand. I normally sit in that main stand we're looking at. What I will say is the tiny little stand opposite only feels like it's got about 10 rows back. This would be a real proper stadium if they could build that up. But you know as well as I do, there's roads going behind it, housing estate there as well. So right in the sort of hub there, West Brom. It can get a little bit dicey driving there, getting off that last roundabout, can't it? I have to say, I've had a few moments where I thought I was going to miss kickoff there, just sat in endless queues of traffic. Facilities good. They've built it up and they've developed it nicely. Plenty of space, and really good for the disabled guys as well in that main stand. Really good view for them in West Brom. Character, yeah, they've managed to maintain. You think of the three guys they had in the 70s, Cunningham, Regis. Oh God, who was the guy who went and played in Spain? Now that was Laurie Cunningham. I can't remember who the other guy was. In the Ron Atkinson team with Alistair Brown. Those three pioneering players. Anyway, you kind of think of all of that, and they've managed to kind of keep some of the soul of that. So I've gone for history, and the atmosphere is always good there. There was the which is always good fun before the game, and nice and loud. So I've gone for the Hawthorns there as another 14 stars. Batson, Regis, and Cunningham. Have I remembered? You don't need to comment me now. I think I've remembered. Hey, we're going back to 50 years now, for goodness sake. Right, let's move on. And we've got our top two now at 15 stars. I think you can guess which ones they are. Nottingham Forest is just a tremendous place to go and watch football. Beautiful location on the River Trent. It's a walk from Nottingham, which is a nice place, isn't it, to go to. And then just the history of the place. Yes, that Brian Clough stand is a bit rickety. You've then got the character of that stand dropping down. They're going to be building up the Peter Taylor stand. I always sit up in the Brian Clough stand. You see right across Nottingham. And then there's the cricket stadium right next door and pubs on the walk in. It's a great place to watch football. And plenty of noise from that end as well. You've got the Trent End there, which is a huge build on the end of the stadium. You think when that Peter Taylor stand is built up, it's going to be quite the... Are they going to like 35 or 38,000 or something there, Forest? So I love to go there. Look, the facilities, some of it is a bit dated, isn't it? And you walk round and, God, I've been to plenty of Forest derby games there, and yeah, particularly going around the back where the away fans are all kind of funneled in. It does feel a bit old school, doesn't it? But I'm sure the Peter Taylor stand is going to improve the facilities. I really like the character right by the Trent. I've gone and got a beer and sat by the river before the game, an evening game in the sunshine. Brilliant. And again, go and park at Notts County. It's literally 3 sports stadiums within about a couple of miles there, with Notts County and Forest, and then the cricket stadium as well. Brilliant. Atmosphere is decent, and the Mull of Kintyre thing at the start is great. And the history, they do the brilliant video package of Brian Clough, who I'm a massive fan of, before the game. Ticks a lot of boxes for me, even though maybe the legroom and the modernisation of the Brian Clough stand could increase. But hey, the Peter Taylor stand will will deal with that. Seems a bit odd, given that it was manager and assistant. That assistant's going to probably dwarf manager soon over there. But hey, they had to honour Cloughy first. And I think we're down to our last one, and this is an absolute favourite place for me to go and watch football. And they are back at Sheffield United, Bramall Lane, and just the mix of everything I want at football, really. Look at those posts in the old cop there. You've got the mix of the old-fashioned about it. You can still see some of the stairs and the terracing when you come in that back car park. But they've managed to modernise it. Good views everywhere. I always sit in that Tony Curry stand. The away fans down behind the goal with home fans, really steep. I've sat up there as well. Not a long walk from the town centre across there, and just has a real vibe about it, doesn't it? And then they do the greasy chip butty thing before the game. Good bunch of noisy, honest fans up there at Bramall Lane, and I have to say I've been made so welcome by those Sheffield United fans in there. And okay, maybe I'm a bit biased, but my last experience of going to football at Bramall Lane was Blades in 1819 with this. Just the whole thing about it felt really good with the Sheffield guy in the dugout in the Sheffield Stadium with this very Sheffield team. It was really, really a cool experience. Facilities, okay, aren't they? But it's modern enough without feeling identikit and all of those things we level at the perhaps slightly soulless new build type stadiums. Character is off the charts, isn't it? It's managed to, again, maintain the old school character, and you can think back to Brian Deane in the opening day of the Premier League, and the away end didn't even go all the way across to the corner there, and it just I love stadiums where it's just a road walking into the turnstiles there, and they close it down. The away end there, brilliant stuff. Atmosphere is fantastic in there. It's always been noisy, and the greasy chip butty thing at the start is brilliant. And I was there when they got promoted, and yeah, it was spine tingling in there. Brilliant. And the history, they've managed to maintain this kind of old school, long history that you get from those two Sheffield clubs, and modernise it in a way without destroying it as well. So an absolute favourite of mine to go and watch football at. There we go. We have done it. 47 minutes of me blabbing about the Championship stadiums, ranking them from worst to best. It's always hard doing these videos because we do worst to best is the thing they want on YouTube. I love going watching football. I love Championship football. Everybody has their favourite places where they want to go and watch football. It's completely subjective, and it's fine to come up with whatever conclusion you like. Please feel free to put your top threes or your bottom threes. I think I've tried to do it in a respectful way to all the clubs, to respect the fans and the histories and these great theatres of football. So please try and do the same. I know it gets a bit tribal a bit quickly. And look, for God's sake, if I didn't have your stadium as look, obviously you're going to have your stadium at number one. I get it. That's fine. Please don't take it personally. That's not the point of this. It's a little travel around the stadiums and some memories and some pros and cons that I have. And everyone's list will be different. It's completely subjective. So let's try and make the comments a nice place to to talk about some memories and some away days and some stadiums that you like to go to, rather than some comments we sometimes get with people taking it very personally that the stadium they love is not number one. So please get your views in, but let's try and, as ever, as I'm constantly pleading, try and communicate in a civil and socially responsible way on the internet that people often struggle with. There we go. That is my ranking of stadiums. I've had my say. Now you have yours in the comments. Be nice to me. Play nicely with each other. And hopefully we'll get some great memories and some great comments about your favourite places to go and watch Championship football. Thank you very much for watching. Over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.